Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the Petal Talk podcast. I am your host, Allison Crowder, and today we have a new friend, Miss Mandy on the podcast. Hi, welcome to Petal Talk, where skincare meets soul care. Mandy is a newer addition to our team, and I'm so excited to have you today and get to know you a bit more and chat about all things beauty, wellness, lifestyle. How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm very excited to be here.
Good. We're excited to have you. So for those obviously who are listening, obviously you're relatively new to the Rose and also new to the podcast. Give us a little spiel about who you are, what you're all about. Tell us a bit more about you.
Okay. So I am 19 years old.
A baby.
And I was raised in Orlando, born and raised in Orlando. I'm the youngest of four. So really a baby. And I
Do you get special treatment because you're like the littlest one?
Of course.
Do you?
Of course I do.
Okay, at least you know.
Yeah. I'm not mad about it.
I know. That's like.
Yeah, growing up, I haven't had the easiest time with everything, but I'm really happy to be where I am. And I'm really happy to know what I know and have gone through what I've gone through to educate others about everything.
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, you are the littlest of four.
Yeah.
What was growing up like having siblings so much older than you? Because if I remember correctly, your elder siblings are much older than you, like 10 plus years.
Yeah. So my oldest brother, he lives in Tennessee. He's in his 30s. I didn't grow up much with him, but my second older brother, he's 30. Growing up with him, there was a huge gap. Yeah. So we haven't had the closest relationship.
Right.
I'm much closer with my sister. So it's a bit different like now, the relationship with my brother and my sister, because I'm much closer with my sister. So we relate with a bunch of stuff. We're like the same person.
Yeah. And you're with girls, so it's like easier.
It's like girl stuff.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, there is like a big difference with me and my brothers.
What do they one lives in Tennessee, one lives here?
Right.
Okay, nice. And then your sister lives here as well. Okay, nice. And so when you were younger, did you always want to go to beauty school? Is that something that you always wanted to do? Or what were you like kind of as a little kid into middle school, into high school? Where did you kind of see yourself at that time?
Yeah, so it started in probably middle school where I started having a tough time with mental health and figuring out who I was. And that went on throughout high school, and I still struggle with some things today. But it's always been in the back of my mind because I haven't always been a girl's girl, but it didn't take me long to realize I love doing girl stuff. Like, I just love it. Like, everything. Like, I couldn't be more girl. So it's always been in, like, the back of my mind, just going to beauty school, but not because I thought it was easy, but it was something that I was really passionate about and could really advance in, you know?
When you were little, were you one of those girls that was cutting up your Barbies and doing makeup and doing all of those things? Or were you like out with your brother, like in the dirt?
No, so me and my sister, we had this huge dollhouse.
It's so fun.
We always played in the dollhouse. We had Barbies, we had everything, like all the little girls' toys, like we had everything. So
I always ask a question like that because I feel like so many people in the beauty industry, we all have that moment where we are playing with dolls or whatever, fill in the blank, baby dolls or brats or Barbies, whatever, and we're like, this is it. Like this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And similar, my whole life, I just like knew I've been extremely girly, and like beyond it, I remember being very little and being like, oh, glam, that is for me.
Yeah.
Hair, makeup, you know, at the time skin wasn't like a conversation when I was like a baby.
Right.
But I always was like, oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
This is who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. So it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. So when you talk about struggling a little bit when you were in middle school, can you kind of expand on what that looked like and situations that brought you to kind of this point?
Yeah. So at the time when I was struggling with everything, mental health was kind of looked at as one of those things that are like, yeah, whatever. Like, get over yourself, you know? So I didn't tell anyone.
Sure.
And the one person who knew everything, like my whole life story, everything was my mom. And I'm so, so grateful for her because I would not have made it this far.
Moms are the best.
Yeah. She's the most amazing person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it started in middle school, and high school was really...
And so when you, if I may, when you go back to middle school, you're struggling. Is it like body image type things? Because when you're in middle school, that's like fairly young. Like what are the thoughts going through your mind?
Yeah, so I feel like middle school is a hard time for a lot of people because it's kind of that transition between being a super little kid at elementary school to high school, which you're supposed to be an adult, if you will. So yeah, it was really tough. It was a lot of like body image stuff and like figuring out who I was and what I wanted to be and not being happy with myself, you know? So, and that just transitioned into high school. It was never really like a quick solution to figure it out what it was. Because I knew nobody else who was struggling with the same things I was. And to me, everyone else looked like they had the most perfect lives.
Sure.
And they were these great people. They were so happy, enjoying everything. And I was just so miserable. So, and because of that stuff, I saw myself as weaker because I'm struggling with all these things and all my friends and all these other people aren't even thinking twice about it. You know? So, but in high school, again, I didn't tell any of my friends or anyone because if I did, they kind of would have just been like, yeah, whatever.
Sure.
You know? But mental health is one of those things that are very real and can get very real very quickly. So yeah, it did get very real, and I am very thankful though for what I have been through because I wouldn't be the way I am.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you feel like are things that you took away from an experience like that that have set you up for success now?
I would say a big part is motivating yourself. A lot of people don't have motivation, and that was a big thing I struggled with was just motivation. Like I didn't see the reason for leaving the house. I didn't see the reason for doing things that are going to help my well-being. I was like, what's the point?
Sure.
So just figuring out what motivates you and just finding a reason to do what you're doing, whatever it is really important.
When you were in school, were you in any sports or anything? Or like any curricular activities?
I grew up playing soccer.
Oh, fun.
When I was little. Me and my sister both played soccer.
Have you seen Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants?
No.
Never mind. I was going to say, it doesn't even matter, but they're, you know, Blake Lively.
Yeah.
She is like a rock star soccer player.
Oh my God.
In that movie. I wanted so bad to like be a cool girl, hot girl that played soccer, and I just thought it could never have been me. But I was just going to say if she was like your inspo too, because she was mine, but never mind. Keep going. So you played soccer. And
I was like a really young kid, so like I wasn't even...
Sure.
We hadn't gotten to the self-image stuff yet.
Okay,
I was just like playing soccer for fun, you know? But in high school, I played a little tiny bit of lacrosse.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It is cool. And...
that has the sticks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. And it was in high school where I really, really started to get into fitness and being active. Because I think that's also really important for your well-being, you know? So I really wanted to incorporate that into my life, and I knew I wanted to stick with it.
Right.
So I started doing things, and it's changed. Like my fitness has changed. First, I started off doing like conditioning, and I got into sports, and now it's kind of like girly stuff, like Pilates, yoga, you know? So it has been a change, but I've always been sure that I needed to stay active, and that's really a big part of mental health.
When you were, would you say that like the bulk of all of this kind of boils down to like, body image challenges?
Yeah.
So I can like so relate. And I feel like that is something that isn't talked about. And I feel like it is something though that show me a girl that's never felt like that.
Right.
Like everyone has. Right. And I think, you know, so much of, I don't know about you, obviously, because we're a bit different in age and our parents are probably like a little bit different in age, but like my mom was very much raised in a generation of skinny is everything. my mom, like, love her to death. If she ever sees this, she knows how I feel about this. Extreme almond mom. My mom, is the kind of mom that oh my God, I'm starving. Has like a handful of like almonds and like half a banana. And she's like, oh, I'm like so full. Like, I can't. Or like her snack is like 5 cherry tomatoes. And I'm like, hi, I'm starving. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I feel like when you grow up with a parent like that, and I didn't play soccer, but I was in ballet and I did dance and cheer and stuff like that. Also heavily, your appearance is a huge part of those sports. Of course. And I did pageants for a little bit, the whole thing. And like, it's all about how you look. And I thought it was so fun because, I'm that girly girl back from when I was little. But, I mean, I remember like I literally don't ever talk about this either because it's just like crazy. But I remember being like with boyfriends or people and being literally crippled at the thought of having someone watch me eat. That was like insane for me, which is so funny because that's like an extremely normal human thing to do, eat and like snack and like whatever. But just because of the way that I was raised, it was so, I was just extremely aware from a young age that eating is like a negative, and that's hard when you're little. And I hear my mom all the time talking about like, 5 almonds, she's full, and I'm like, well, I'm not, but like if that's what full should feel like, then I know. And so I too, when I was in high school and a bit of time in like my early 20s, was not good. And I think that unfortunately is common. I don't know how to make it not. I don't know how to change that. But there is an extreme amount of pressure.
Absolutely.
Like on ourselves, but also like women to women and men to women. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. And not saying that men don't have their own pressures, because obviously they do as well, but there is a lot of pressure that, as a woman, you're kind of dead to society if you're not beautiful. Like what else do you have to offer? Nothing. And that can be overwhelming.
Of course.
So when you were that young, kind of feeling those thoughts as well, how was your mom? Was your mom kind of like my mom? Was she like very helpful, or was she maybe not so helpful? What was that relationship like? How was your sister thinking and feeling those same things too? Like, what did that dynamic kind of look like?
So my mom, she is a bit of an almond mom with the eating.
It's hard. It has to be their gen. How was your mom? You don't have to call her out, but like, is she in her 50s?
She's in her 40s.
Okay. Similar age bracket of my mom as well. I don't know what it is about that time frame. But it very much is like the Kate Moss, like nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And I can like laugh about that and joke about it now, but there was a time where I was like, no, really, like how long can I go without eating? Like, let's just like see. And that's like bad. It's not good for you. Okay, so your mom is a bit of an almond mom as well.
So she is a bit of an almond mom, but she also grew up with 2 brothers. So, and at the time, when my mom was younger, she was doing the same thing her brothers were doing. So yard work, fixing the car, all that stuff. And so now my mom is very big on being self-sufficient. So,
oh my gosh, we could talk about that for a long time too. I have so many thoughts about being self-sufficient as a woman.
So she's constantly telling me like, if you want something done, do it for yourself, Like you can do this just as much as he can do this,
Right.
But
okay, wait, I do have to touch on this for 2 seconds because I will lose my train of thought. So my mom, my parents got a divorce when I was extremely young. And so my mom raised us, me and my brother, pretty much our whole life. When you have 2 babies and you're a single parent, a single woman, you also have to then take on the male responsibilities. If we lived in Colorado, it snows. My mom was out there on the tractor, getting rid of the snow. My mom was shoveling. My mom was putting the different tires on the car, those types of things. And so similar, she instilled, I'm extremely self-sufficient, right? And like, I know I can like make jokes sometimes about like, I'm married. That's the whole point of being married or whatever. As it's a bit, it's not real. I'm extremely self-sufficient. And I think that it's a loss when women are not, because it really can pigeonhole you and get yourself into a situation that is not great. When you do find yourself relying on a lot of other people, you should be able to live alone theoretically make your own meals, be aware of your own finances, take care of the things you have to when it comes to maybe a car or your investments or your whatever. Like, you don't have to be a pro at all of those things like maybe a man would. Like, I don't know how to like, I don't even know, like weld something like we talked about, right? Like as a joke, but I am pretty familiar with other things because you shouldn't have to rely on anyone else.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you are all you have.
Yeah.
And that's important, especially as a young woman. You know, you do have to just be aware. Yeah, those things are great if you have someone that can help you, but sometimes you don't. And that's not a good situation to be in.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So she has then taught you all of those things as well.
Yeah. So when I started struggling with mental health, all that stuff, obviously she knew right away. And she got on it from the jump. She was like, this is not right. We need to do something. We need to change this. So she was there for me from the beginning. I know a lot of people don't have that kind of support. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
But, and you know, when you're a kid, you take everything your parents do for granted. You find it annoying. You don't appreciate what they do. But growing up, it didn't take me long to realize there's nothing she wouldn't do just to make sure I'm okay.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was the biggest impact on me growing and being okay and learning how to deal with everything.
Have you told her all of those things?
I haven't.
Oh, well, you should tell her.
I know.
She probably would get so emo. It's nice sometimes. And I think as you do get older, you know, I think especially as young girls, we don't hate anyone as much as we hate our moms sometimes, right? Like there were times my mom and I would be screaming at each other. But then in hindsight, I'm like, oh, you were right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the worst. I'm like, I'm so sorry. My mom and I have had a couple bigger conversations about that of, you know, same thing being like, you just don't know when you're that young. You just don't know that. I mean, you were a lot younger than I didn't come to those conclusions really till I was like getting married myself and was getting into my own life. And I was like, oh, dang, like that's on my mom. Like, you're right. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate you. Yeah. I don't know what I would do without you. I literally wouldn't be in this world if it weren't for you.
Yeah.
So moving up, so you're in high school and you're living your life. You get better kind of in high school. Things get better in high school, or does that not happen until after high school?
So
like, when do you feel you're most confident?
That was after high school. A lot of people say, my mom included, you're going to reach rock bottom before you realize something needs to change. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what happened with me. Mm-hmm. So throughout all school was tough.
Yeah.
But it didn't take till after high school for something big to happen and me to realize I needed to change and I needed to fix my life because nobody else can do it but you, you know? Yeah. Like, you're in control of your own life.
Were you like a good kid in high school, or were you like drinking and being crazy?
I mean...
Yeah, a little bit maybe.
I think every kid in high school does their fair share of, you know,
naughty things.
Bad stuff.
Sure. Did you like school? Like, did you like learning?
No.
Yeah, me either, girl.
No, I couldn't stand school. Yeah. It was super tough for me, and that was another part of it. I just couldn't bring myself to go to school. I
think high school is such an interesting time in your life, too, because there is, and Ryan and I talk about this all the time, so much pressure on such a young person to plan the rest of their life at age 16.
Yeah.
And I think about, like, if I had to continually live with the decisions that I made at 16, I would be miserable. Yeah. If I married the guy I was dating at 16, I did the job that I wanted at 16, if I lived in the area I did when I was 16, I would be miserable. And I think that that's on growth in general, but also I think that's on your life evolving just as a child to an adult, because there is all this pressure when you're 16 to have it all figured out. And then most times you don't. And the odds of you having it ready to go and like forever, you know, the decisions you make at 16 really being what happens is so slim. And it's a lot of pressure. You know, I've watched it happen with all my siblings. I've watched it happen with, you know, my husband's siblings, you know, this pressure of like, oh my gosh, like I'm 18. I don't know what I want to do. And it's like, you're 18. That's crazy. And I think I have a bit of a different perspective as well, you know, working in beauty schools for so long. I would watch women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s decide, I've wanted to go to beauty school my entire life. I am going at age 50. Yeah. Like I remember there was a couple sets in my career of moms and daughters who went to beauty school at the same time because they both were like, screw this. Like I want to live my life. I want to do what I want to do. And that's beautiful. Yeah, I think as you should. Okay. So you mentioned hitting a bit of rock bottom. Do you want to elaborate on what that looked like? Or was it just like a really tough season?
Sure. So like I said, I did have my fair share of drinking and drugs and all the bad stuff that high school kids do. Right. So, and that stuff has a huge impact on your mental health. And you don't realize that at the time, but looking back, you're like, that was the worst thing I could have done.
I know, and it's so interesting because those things are correlated so often, and then the idea of being sober is like so crazy. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, I was miserable when I was drinking and doing drugs all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and you don't realize that till you get out of it.
Absolutely.
And you're looking back and you're like, that was terrible.
Right. Like I feel horrible. I look horrible. Yeah. And it's expensive and it's all I think about. It's bad. That's terrible. Why those things are guarded up a little bit more. They're not as easily accessible. Yeah. As they should be.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. So then?
Yeah. So I got out of high school. I kind of got out of I can say I hit a couple rock bottoms before it took me the very last one to be like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this. So I had my drinking moment. I had my drug moment. And then I had my overall big mental well-being moment where I was like, this is terrible. Like, I can't do this. So the very last one was after high school, of course. And I've struggled a lot with self-harm, which is a lot more talked about now. When I was younger and first starting to get into it, it wasn't talked about as much. So I didn't have as much information and confidence or knowledge on what I should be doing or what I was going through at all. So I just thought this was something that was totally unheard of, and I'm just a psychopath, you know?
Yeah.
So it took a lot of that, and there was one final time where I ended up in the hospital, and I spent a couple of days in an institution with a bunch of other girls my age. And at the time I was 17. So there was two parts to this building or place. There was 18 and younger, and then over 18. And those are huge sections. So totally. 18 and over, people of all age ranges. And it wasn't just people struggling with the same things I was going through. It was a variety of things.
Sure.
So I think about it a lot, and I am so lucky I started there at the age I did. Because I was surrounded with kids, you know, people my age. Whereas if I would have kept doing it any longer, I would have ended up in a really dangerous situation.
Yeah.
So I spent a few nights there.
Were you scared?
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I spent the first night there just sobbing.
Yeah. It makes it very real.
Yeah.
And it's like a real decision and a real consequence. And it may have been one of the first really of your life where you're like, oh my gosh, this is like a really big grown up thing that happened to me.
Like this is very, very real.
I have a lot of girlfriends that have been in similar situations. They all were terrified.
Yeah.
Like beyond. And also like those places aren't great.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like extremely scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the first night I was in denial.
Yeah.
In denial. I was like, no, I gotta go. Like, I don't belong here.
I don't belong here. Right.
I don't belong here. I really don't.
Right.
I'm like, I was just joking. Like,
I take it back.
I take it back. Like, I promise I won't do it anymore.
Right.
You know, like,
right.
Whatever. And they were like, no.
No, right. Because then it's like, clearly there's a problem.
Yeah.
And they can't let you go. That's the thing is they can't, even if you say like, JK, never mind.
Yeah.
They still are legally
like, no.
bound. Yeah, they
like,
can't even let you go.
It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
So, and at the time, I didn't know how long I was going to be there for.
Right.
So I was...
Were you taken there like via ambulance?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't see my parents.
Right.
And I was really sad about that.
Yeah.
So I spent the first night there. And then my I believe it was my second day there, they had visiting time. So you could visit your parents or whoever wanted to come and see you. So they took everyone into this room and there was tables set up in rows. So each kid would sit at a table and then their parents would come in and sit down with you. And so I was super excited for this. I was like, I can't wait to see my parents. I have to see them. I miss them so much. Like, I just wanted to talk to them.
I need some comfort.
I need someone because I felt so alone. I was like, I'm not like these kids.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not like these kids, really.
Right.
So I was sitting at the table and then my parents came in and they sat down in front of me and I looked at my mom's face and I just started sobbing.
I'm sure.
And she did too.
I'm sure.
It's
scary.
It was terrible.
And I'm sure both of them, both you and her, were probably like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Like, how did it come to this?
Yeah.
Now, but also at the same time, being grateful that this is the outcome rather than the alternative, because that's also devastating.
Yeah. It could have been very, very, very different.
Right.
So
then what? How long are you there? A couple days?
Yeah. 3 or 4 days I was there. And I was not social.
Oh my God, yeah.
Not social at all. A lot of the other girls, I wouldn't say were happy to be there, but they were not like as distraught as I was, you know? They were like,
they weren't scared like me.
Yeah, they were chatting it up, like telling stories, and I was kind of sitting at the picnic table. I was kind of like
I want to go home.
Like, do you guys want to leave too? Or like, you know?
Right.
So I would listen to these stories that these girls would tell, and I couldn't believe what they were saying.
Right.
And they were the same age as me or younger.
Right.
So I was amazed at the things they would do and they were okay with. Mm-hmm. Like I said, while I was there, I knew as soon as I got there, I was done with this.
Yeah.
I knew that was the final thing, and I was done with that.
Right.
And I knew I wanted to change, and I didn't want to be the way I had been in the past.
Right.
But a lot of the girls didn't think the same. They wanted to continue the things that got them there in the first place.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Like, do you think it's because because I personally am not super familiar with that genre of mental health, right? Mm-hmm. That's not something I've experienced, and so I don't personally know a lot about that.
Yeah.
What about kind of that world of hurting yourself because it's like you deserve it almost? Like, where do you think that stems from? Like, where do you think, because people talk about it and it's a conversation, but no one ever talks about how to like prevent getting to that point. Like, what does that look like? What do you think is the result of that?
Yeah. So like we mentioned earlier, self-image stuff.
Sure.
Personally, that was probably where it all stemmed from.
Yeah.
Just not being happy with yourself. So you don't want to be here anymore, you know?
Right. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And when you're in such a dark place, I'm sure it's so hard to even see a shrivel of the positives, right? When you're so down, even something, even like your mom, it's like, yeah, but she's my mom. Like, who cares? But it's like, no, that does matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of these girls, like I said, wanted to keep doing the things they were doing. And what I can think of is they found comfort in that.
Sure. That must be what it is.
Yeah.
They find comfort in those types of...
Yeah, and like you said, while you're in it and while you're doing those things, you can't see the outside of it.
Right.
All you can think of is all the negatives, and you think there's nothing good in your life, and you have no reason to change, you know?
Right.
So.
And also, it's scary and hard.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure a lot of it, too, comes from, we'll cross that bridge later. Like, we'll deal with it later when it gets worse, maybe.
Yeah.
But not everyone gets a second chance.
Right. Absolutely. So
you're there for a couple days. Mm-hmm. They tell you you're going home. You're ecstatic, I would assume.
I was begging to leave. There was not a second of the days that went by. like as soon as we woke up in the mornings, and at this place we were woken up at 5 and bedtime was at 9.
Yeah.
So from 5 in the morning, constantly all the way throughout 9 o'clock, and I was like, can I leave yet?
Right.
Like, how do I get out of here?
Right.
Like, what do I need to do?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So when there was like a piece of paperwork that I needed to sign and my parents needed to sign. And before all this, it wasn't kind of when I started and I really wanted to leave, I thought that was in my parents' control. So I was like, you have to get me out of here.
Right.
I was like, I don't care what you do, but I can't be in here.
Right.
You know, like I don't belong here.
Right.
And they kind of just like looked at me and they were like, there's nothing we can do for you. It's out of their hands.
And at that point, it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think legally they have to keep you there for at least 72 hours or
Right.
something. Like,
It
I
is.
don't even think.
Right. When you go to the hospital with that issue,
Right.
they're in charge of that.
Well, and then I think at that point too, like, even since you were so young, I think even like Child Protective Services, like, I think a lot of people get involved because you are a child and they are like, obviously you were 17, but, you know, it becomes so much bigger than you.
Yeah.
Which is scary too.
Yeah.
Because then you have to maybe talk to a police officer or talk to a paramedic or something. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is like a lot.
What's kind of funny is, not funny, but what I thought would work
Right.
before it got bad. When I got to the hospital and they saw the degree of what had happened, it was an issue right away.
I'm sure.
And I knew it was terrible because when my mom took me to the hospital, she kind of like whispered to the front desk lady what was going on. And it was a very quiet thing.
Yeah.
So I knew from the beginning it wasn't good.
This is bad.
But while I was still in the hospital, I spent a night there, and then I had an ambulance take me to the institution. I did talk to a psychiatrist like via video chat in the hospital, and I tried my very, very, very best to convince him I didn't need to go to that place.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, no.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
He was like, I don't believe you for a second.
Right.
And so that led to, you know, everything. But, yeah.
What did life look like after you got out? Did you have to do a like outpatient therapy?
Yeah, a little bit. So I did have to see various people on a schedule after that for however long.
Is this like in the middle of the school year as well, or just like over the summer?
No, this is...
Like, are you missing school?
No.
Okay.
No,
Oh, you're out of school?
Yeah, I was out of high school.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not sure if other people were in school or if it was during the summertime, other kids were having fun out doing whatever they want.
Right.
But I don't know. I wasn't focused on other
Right.
kids at that point. I was zoned in on myself.
Yeah.
You know?
And so what did kind of resetting and taking back control of your life, what are some things that you started implementing, and how did you kind of start making that shift from not so great to now, you know, kind of being the best version of yourself? That really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Really. Like, that was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, what did that kind of look like for you?
So, like I mentioned earlier, being active is a really, really, really big part for me.
Yeah.
So, being active in other things that are going to make you feel better about yourself, you know, like give you a little bit of confidence and make you feel happy, you know? So, implementing those kind of things into my life was a must.
Yeah.
So, and I did end up getting a job I would say a couple months after. And my mom was always, anything I did, like if I got up in the morning and ate breakfast and went for a quick run, she was telling me how proud she is.
Yeah. That's sweet.
And so that was a big part. Having people surround you like that, that's a really big part in them encouraging you and motivating you and helping you.
Yeah.
So that was a big part. But ultimately, you're in control of your life. So the things you decide to do daily is what makes up your life.
Right.
So even the little things like I said, eating breakfast.
Yeah. What are some wellness practices that you take now, and what are some things that you do every day that help set you up for success?
Yeah. So being active, I like yoga. Hot yoga is something else. It just, meditation, yoga, like I love that stuff. It's so good for your mental health, and it makes you feel good afterwards. You're like, yeah, I just did that.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, reading is something I enjoy. Even if it's like going on walks outside for like 10 minutes, just being outside and being social is also a big part. Throughout my whole life, I haven't been the most social person ever. Like,
you are like a little shy.
I am.
Just a little shy.
I am. And I've always been like that.
Right.
It is hard because growing up, with the things I've struggled with, I've always thought the other person is always on another level than me, and why should I? They don't want to talk to me, you know? Sure. Like, I'm down here, they're up here. They don't want to spend their time talking to me, you know?
Right.
But eventually you have to get over that, and it's not a big deal just having a chat with someone, you know?
I know, yeah. But it's hard.
It is hard.
And especially if you're not like instinctually overly friendly or overly, you know, social or charismatic or bubbly or whatever. Like, that's not an easy trait to grow into. It's tough.
It's not, because if you're in a room with someone else, it's kind of like your thoughts are going 100 miles per hour.
Right.
And they're just over here like thinking about what they're going to eat for lunch, you know? Like, you're like that's constantly, so you're funny. Like, oh my God, what do I say? Like, do I talk to them, or like, do I not? Should I say it now? Or like, and they're just like,
I bet that's like how you and I are. Seriously. Because I don't, honestly, I probably should think a little bit more about what I say before I speak, but there's a lot of times that it's news to me as soon as it comes out as well. Like, I'm not thinking around at all. Versus you, I know, because I can see it on your face.
Yeah.
Before you start talking, I know you've already thought about it. Yeah. And I'm like, what are we having for lunch? I don't know. Like, what are we going to do?
It's just like la, la, la.
Totally. Yeah.
Constantly.
Totally. Which it's also not great. Like, that's not great either, though, too. Like, there's flaws with not thinking before you speak, too. That's not great.
Yeah.
It's my mouth that's gotten me into trouble a lot of times. But, you know, it's fine.
But, yeah, just being social. When I started work, my best friend now, her name is Ellen. She was my coworker at the time. We actually went to high school together, but we were in two different realms, you know, different friend groups, like we didn't sports know each other at all. Yeah. But we met working at the place we worked at, and I started off being like how we started off, like not talking, like thinking about what I'm going to say before I say it. Like, do I talk to her or not? Like, but I admired her. I loved her as a person. I thought she was so fun and cool. So eventually, like, as we were working, we would work in like the same little area.
Sure.
So I would kind of like throw something at her. And when she would give me back like a fun, high energy response, that would make me feel good.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I love talking to her.
Yeah.
Like, this is so fun.
Right. Yeah.
So we became really good friends, and I still hang out with her today.
That's good. That's your best girl.
Yeah.
That's your bestie. So then you go to beauty school. You liked school, kind of?
It was a lot better than high school.
Yeah. Right. But beauty school is tough. Beauty school it's kind of just like high school, actually.
Yeah.
But you pay for it.
Yeah.
Did you always want to do skin, or did you consider hair as well? Or what did that look like?
Yeah. So going into beauty school, my idea was skin.
Yeah.
But I didn't know all of the alternatives and branches off that you could do and include.
Sure.
Until I got there and started learning about them. So I learned about all this new stuff, and I thought about it, and I was like, I'm going to stick with skin, you know, like, it's something I'm passionate about. I've been thinking about it for a while. Like, it's a safe choice, you know?
Yeah. And it's so fun.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, you touching on so many branches, what I love about the beauty industry so much, which I know we've talked about this, is the umbrella that is honestly like aesthetics in general. And I don't even just mean like skin aesthetics. Aesthetics is the overarching, and you have fashion, beauty, interior design, you know, but like all these different smaller umbrellas. And then it really opens up so much. Like, someone who loves one of those elements oftentimes loves all of it, right? Yeah. And so it's such a fun world of creativity and color and fun and aesthetic and texture, and it's just the best industry. But in that, you know, someone oftentimes who's really interested in skin also is interested in makeup, then also often interested in clothing and, you know, architecture and design. And with that comes, you can do skin, or you can own your own skincare line, or you can own your own spa, or you can do whatever. Like or you can teach, or, you know, there's so many options that I think people, when they hear beauty school, they just think that you are a hair cutter or an esthetician. And that's often like the smallest of the chunk. There's like, I look at my class in beauty school, there was 14 of us. All 14 of us would do work in the industry still, and all 14 do completely different things. And that just shows the versatility of the industry and how fun it is. And some have babies, some don't, some are married, some aren't. And you can do so much with a licensure. Yeah. So much. What did you initially want to do with your licensure when you were enrolling in school, or did that change when you were in school, when you graduated? What did you kind of think you wanted to do?
Yeah. So when I graduated, my idea was I wanted to start off working for somebody else. I didn't want to jump right into working for myself because I didn't feel, I guess this goes back to confidence. Sure. I didn't feel as ready as.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to work for somebody else. Graduating and being on the job search, I looked at a lot of esthetician openings and roles and all this stuff. And it wasn't what I expected, you know?
Tell me why. What were you lacking in that?
So the roles I was seeing, it was a lot of stuff that I guess I wasn't confident about. I wasn't ready. So they seemed like these huge like roles, and I had to be my own person, and I had to educate others on all the stuff that I knew, but I didn't feel like I could do that.
Right.
So I was searching for a long, long time, and I kind of reached a point where I was like, it doesn't matter what I do, I just need to do something. Yeah. You know?
Right.
But obviously I wanted it in the industry.
Right.
And I discovered you guys. And I was like, wait, oh my God, I love this place. So I didn't really care what I did. I probably could have just jumped right into esthetician. But I do really like the idea of starting off small and working my way up.
Sure. I had so many people who applied, obviously, just because it's like a big role.
Yeah.
And I really liked how pretty your resume was.
Oh my God,
and that's why I called you. Do you know that?
No.
Have I told you that?
No.
Yeah, it's like light beige with blue.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is cute. And then, pro tip for anyone who's listening, what I liked about you initially was you call and we schedule to meet, and you called me that morning to confirm that you were coming. And then you texted me after every single time we met. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, I like that. Aww. I like that. When you had first called, I was like, oh, this girl. Cause let me tell you, we get a large variety of people who've applied, who've popped in, who want to work here. And I'm so grateful because when we open our second location next year, you know, hit me up. However, it was definitely like a quantity over quality situation. It always kind of is a quantity over quality. I'm a bit more picky with hiring just because I know what I want, and I'm a pretty good judge of character. I can tell within the first couple minutes if the vibe is there, if it's not.
Yeah.
But I remember, you know, and I've heard all sorts of crazy stories. People have called in, oh my gosh, my cat ran away and then it caught on fire and all these things are like crazy stories about why people can and cannot come in. And I'm always like, whatever, like, I don't even care. You're not a good fit then, whatever. And so when I had seen on the caller ID that you were calling, I was like, this girl, I'm like, she's going to cancel, which is fine. Like, not a big deal, whatever. Just because that's what I'm used to. And you had called to confirm. And I said, yeah, that's crazy. Wait, I like her. And then she walks in and I say, you look like me. I like that.
Hold on.
I was like, wait, this is crazy. Yeah. Okay, what were your thoughts? Your first thoughts about me after we met?
So,
if I may.
So, you are very similar to someone I know.
Oh my gosh. Is that good or bad?
Very good.
Okay, good.
Like,
good.
My brother's girlfriend, her name is Kaylee. Blonde, looks just like you, super high energy, super fun. So you immediately reminded me of her.
Sure.
And just every little thing, just like the way you spoke. And first of all, your outfits.
Oh, duh.
Your outfits from the beginning. From the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, that's going to be me.
Yeah.
I was like, she is who I want to be.
Yeah, you can be.
Okay.
You can just take it.
Okay, cool.
Good.
But
Yeah.
you were like the most, how do I word it?
Keep going. Tell
How
me.
do I word it? You are like, just like such a good person.
Oh my gosh.
Like
You're
all
being
around,
nice.
like
No, keep going.
such a good person and like really who I want to be.
I didn't even make her say that, guys. Oh my gosh, you're really nice. Thank you. That's really nice. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. Because let me tell you, I interviewed a lot of people and it was not looking good for your girl.
God.
I was getting a little nervous. We kind of touched on this earlier. Mandy is supporting in the front of house and kind of really stepping into the back of house as well. And it's a lot to manage. And I think that people kind of, it's so interesting. Restaurants, salons, spas, gyms, so many things. This front of house, front desk, so to speak, in air quotes, they're really running the show day to day, right? And I think that those are often, unfortunately, the people that get kind of the most flack. And like, people are really mean to waitresses and people are really mean to hostesses and people are really mean to front desk people. And it's always so interesting because things don't run without that role. And so when we didn't have one for a while, it was good because I was able to kind of step back in and kind of understand what we were really looking for. But that role needs to be extremely specific, and they're the type of person that can handle something like that, who wants to be in a role like that, and who then is willing to continue on the back end and help me with things. It took a long time to find you. It took months, and it was worth the wait. Is what I'm saying. It was really just worth the wait.
I'm so glad.
And so I've been here for what, like a month?
About.
Has it only not even been 1 month? Feels
Maybe
like
a little
long time.
over.
I don't even know. It's been like a month-ish. And how are you liking it so far?
I am so happy.
Okay, good. What is your favorite part so far about now? You're in the industry, your boots on the ground, kind of.
Yeah.
You're learning about treatments, you're learning about products, you're learning about the front and back end. What have you kind of taken away? What are things you love? Where do you kind of see yourself?
Yeah. So going back to when I first saw the open position and the title was, I think it was receptionist or front desk, something like that. I was like, okay.
Right.
Like, sure.
Right.
Like it can't be that hard.
Right.
And then coming here, meeting you guys.
Right.
And learning more about this place. And I'm like, I'm already in this really now. Like, there's nothing I could put my energy towards than such like a positive place. And I think it's something really, really great to work on and learn more about and advance in.
Oh, good. I like to hear that. My protege, you can take my job. You just let me know when you want it and you can have it. So what's next? You want to eventually maybe go into skin doing services yourself, or you're content still with learning, or where do you kind of see yourself?
Right now I'm very content.
Yeah, you got a full plate. We'll keep you there for a while.
Let me marinate in it all.
Yes.
But yeah, eventually I do want to hop to the back and start doing services.
Yeah. When I'm ready to give you up, I'm not there quite yet.
Yeah. So right now you are, first I want to be you.
Oh my gosh.
First I want to be you. And then I want to hop over to Caitlin.
Yeah, she's great.
She is.
I know. They're all great. And that's, I hate to like brag, seriously, but like it's hard not to when you do have such a dynamic team. Everyone's great. Everyone's kind. Everyone's happy. Everyone's healthy. Everyone is wanting to be here and wanting to show up and will do anything for anyone. And, I've worked at places where it's not like that.
Yeah.
And that is something that, if I may take pride in, part of my leadership in, everyone is nice. That is the bare minimum, right? Everyone is helpful, right?
Yeah.
Everyone does things for other people. Yeah. I would never ask anyone to do anything that I haven't done or wouldn't do for them. We do help each other flip over our rooms. We do help each other with ordering. We do because the ship doesn't run if all of us aren't all hands on deck.
Right.
And I think that that's not something that is always the standard, especially in the beauty industry.
Yeah.
And specifically, I have worked in some extremely toxic work environments, extremely, to the point where directors are being extremely disparaging towards team members, like bad. And I have just always felt, I remember like being in that, similar to kind of my kind of rock bottom, I would say. I don't know if I really hit like a complete, but like a not great experience.
Yeah.
I remember this lady that I worked for was horrible, so mean, so nasty.
Oh,
and I remember every time she was mean to me, I would think to myself, God, when I have my own place or when I do my own thing, I will never be like you. I will never talk to people like you do. I'll never make people feel small the way you do. To me, I will never, ever be someone like you.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that, because I think people take advantage sometimes if they've only had really positive work environments. They don't understand how really crazy it can be.
Yeah.
And it's crazy out there, especially in the beauty industry. I mean, there's so many different flavors. There's like a lot going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful that we have something different,
Yeah.
because it makes everyone's life a lot more enjoyable. Plus, we're all at work 24/7. Don't you want to like have fun?
Yeah.
And we have the best guests. We offer great services. It's just been great, which, you know, obviously I'm biased, but. You know. So what does your mom think about you working here?
Currently she works also as front desk in a doctor's office. Right. So she's gone more than me out of the day. So we don't have much time to talk.
Sure.
So the only time I see her is right before I leave in the mornings, and then at like 10 o'clock at night, because currently she is going to work and then jumping over to the hospital for our neighbor. So she gets home at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm a homebody, so right. I'm in bed.
Right.
So we don't have much time to talk. So she doesn't know much about it, but I have like told her some stuff and showed her the Instagram, and I'd be like, you know, they have a podcast.
Yeah. We got to
like,
get her on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Terry.
Come on. Is that her name? Terry. Come on, Mama Terry. Come on the pod. Well, good. I'm so glad that you found us. I'm so glad that you were here today. If there's anyone out there who's listening who has been in a similar position as you, extremely young, having, you know, body image or like other mental challenges, to challenges just in high school in general, challenges maybe figuring out what they want to do when they grow up, someone, a little you, what advice do you have to give them? What thoughts, what motivation, what are some things that you'd say to them?
I would probably say to someone who's in the process of going through it, think about who you truly want to be.
Right.
Who you truly want to be and what it's going to take to get there. Because like I said earlier, you're in control of everything. You're in control of your life. You're in control of how you spend your days, you know, and how you spend your days is what makes up your life. Right. So just that you're in control.
And it's your life, baby.
Yeah.
Life's what you make it, so let's make it rock.
Yeah.
Do you know that song?
No.
Hannah Montana. No.
Oh my God, Hannah Montana?
Yeah, life's what you make it, so let's make it rock.
I might know it, but I haven't watched Hannah Montana in like 10 years.
So little. Oh my gosh. You weren't raised on that? No, I know. I'm aging myself. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Me. I do want to put in the show notes some resources if anyone listening to this is going through something similar. If anyone is feeling similar, is feeling like they are stuck, if someone is needing help but doesn't know where to start, we're going to leave some resources at the bottom. Do you want to plug yourself? Do you want to share where they can find you and follow you and stay up with you? Plug yourself.
My Instagram is Mandi.Maddox. Simple.
That's our girl.
Yeah.
She is at the front desk and the back with me. So if you ever call and book an appointment, you're probably talking to her. And hopefully one day she'll be doing services too. You can come book with her.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Anything else you want to share or add?
That's all.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Mandy. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.